My name is Denzel Gitonga. I am a student, third-year student pursuing a bachelor's degree in information technology in Kaimosi Friends University. That's based in Vihiga County. And I'm so excited about today. Wow. Speaking to great minds, great people. It's such an honor. I would like to, first of all, thank Maureen and Okol, the Flutter events organizers for Kisumu. Thank you so much for having me, for giving me this opportunity to share my experience so far as a student in tech. I would also like to appreciate just a few people who I invited over, and I see they've really made it to the meeting. One of them has, I think they left, they couldn't stay for too long. Yeah, the one who was Isabella Minor, she was here, but I think she had other errands to run. She's a kind of a mentor to me, and I appreciate that she made it here. I invited her because I wanted to have her see what I'm doing and all that. Also, there's a lecturer of mine here, is Mr. Samuel Shitote. He has been a great inspiration to me, a big pillar in my life as far as tech is concerned, as far as my spiritual life is also concerned, because he's also a pastor, allow me to say that. So I'm really grateful that you made it here, sir. I really honor you. Thank you for making time. I know you're a busy man, and having you here means a lot. I don't take you for granted. I say thank you. Also, a friend of mine, Rashid Juma, thank you for making it here. Rashid is a good friend of mine as far as tech is concerned also. We have been doing quite a lot together. We have been into many learning environments together. We met actually in a class like this, and we have been together so far. So thank you so much, Rashid, for making. I also know you have other errands you would have been doing. You're a busy man also, but thank you for making it here. So, ladies and gentlemen, I don't think there's anybody else. I know, yeah, also the Nzangu. Nzangu, I think, is here because I sent a link to a group that I am in called the Powerland Project. It's an organization that is like giving out a scholarship to people who have an interest in tech. So we already got onboarded, and that is where I met Nzangu, and I shared the link with them. And I think that is why they're here. And probably a couple of us here. Yes. Also, Jackson Mwangi. I don't know whether Jackson Mwangi is the Jackson I know really, but he's a friend of mine. Also, we met in Adam JS bootcamp. That is by Apprentice Cloud. And so thank you so much for making it here. I really appreciate it. So without further ado, I would like to just present my screen as we begin to talk about what exactly brought us here. So let me just do that in a few moments here. And you can confirm if you are seeing my screen there. Please, if you are able to see my screen, I would appreciate if you let me know so that we can go hand in hand. Is my screen visible?
Yeah, we can see it.
Yeah, it's visible.
Okay. So I will also be attentive to time so that I don't keep us here for too long. And if we can mute, I would appreciate also. Yes, thank you. So today's talk, when I was being asked about what I would really share with people, considering that this is I talk to people who have really done so much, maybe people who are trying to do so much, people who are trying to accomplish certain goals in life. It could be in tech majorly, but I know there are also other errands and projects that people are doing out here. So this may be so encouraging, and this may be something that will impart knowledge and impart a self-drive, like you see here in the presentation. Great initiative, ignite a self-drive. So this is all about trying to give somebody hope, trying to give somebody an inspirational talk a motivation talk, give somebody a light, to shed some light to someone who may be struggling either in one way or another in accomplishing certain goals. So when I was thinking about Grit Initiative, when I was thinking about the topic I would give my speech, the reason why I chose Grit Initiative is because I was looking at how, like Maureen actually said, that if she remembers how she was as a student, it was pretty hard, like, to manage schoolwork and other projects that you want to do here. A lecturer friend of mine told us one time in class that the reason why our class schedules are not occupied throughout the day is because the campus or university expects that you, as a person who is in the university, or maybe say a college or a TVET institution, you are expected not only to be doing classwork, but to have other errands running out here, to have other projects that you're doing out here, not just the classwork like in high school or primary school. Once you leave high school, once you leave primary school, once you leave high school, and then now you are set out to the world, you are expected at least to be doing something. Okay, so that is why I was thinking about that, and I was trying to wonder, how do people manage to stay on track such that they're able to balance between schoolwork, businesses, and other projects that they're doing maybe. So we are going to be talking about Grit Initiative, and through that we are going to ignite a self-drive spark, and I'll be sharing my story on how I have managed this far and what I'm doing to manage, and maybe it will encourage you in one way or the other. So what is grit? As you can see from the illustration here, this is somebody who is trying to climb a mountain. Like if you have seen or watched these movies where people are climbing mountains, and you see a scenario like this where it's hard actually. Sometimes mountain climbing is something that's not so easy. Even not just any mountain, even just something, say, like cycling on a mountain, cycling on a hill, uphill, cycling uphill. So something like that is not so easy. That is why you see this guy is trying to climb up the mountain, and the fingers are held onto this piece of rock that is on, maybe say, the edge of the cliff. So when you look at this picture, grit comes into mind. That is why I made this, and I said, what is grit? So we can move on to the next. A famous actor, maybe we all know Will Smith, is an Oscar award winner. Famous actor once said, let me just move this so that I can see pretty well. The separation of talent and skill is one of the greatest misunderstood concepts. For people who are trying to excel, who have dreams, who want to do things. Talent you have naturally, skill is only developed by hours and hours of beating on your craft. That is Will Smith here, an actor, producer, and all that. So when you talk about grit, grit is a character that pushes someone to the extreme of being patient with whatever they want to achieve, number one. They embrace a lot of passion on whatever they want to achieve. They invest a lot of hours. This is now grit. Grit is something that will push someone to the extreme of what they want to achieve. Number two, will make them embrace patience. Number three, this person will put on hard work of long hours of trying to achieve something. This is also passion and perseverance for long-term goals. That is actually a definition I got, and I'd like you to also embrace that. Passion and perseverance for very long-time goals. For instance, I'll give an example of myself here on campus. I joined campus in the year 2020. That is 2020, just the other day. And that was when I was doing my first year. And I've always had a passion in tech, so apparently the people who do the placing also, I don't know, maybe they felt I'm also I should be placed in the tech space. So that is what I am doing so far. That is now year 3 this year. But when I was joining first year, I didn't really have the focus, if I can be honest with you. I didn't have the focus of knowing what to expect and what I should do towards what I should expect. All right. So I was just attending lectures, and the lecturers were telling us, "Oh, uko mbele, uko hivi." When you're proceeding, the things get hotter and hotter and hotter. And most of the times when we are told that as students, we will not really take the knowledge serious because we have not been there. We have not experienced it. It's like someone telling you, "Hey, if you use this route, there's somewhere where there's a ridge and you might fall and trip. You might trip and fall." You may not take it serious because maybe you have not seen it, like the doubting Thomas. So it was the same case for me. I didn't really see it that way. And so I was just studying and going to class, of course, because I know I am here for study. So I was not missing class. I was just there. So that is one thing that I kind of took up, that the lecturers knew what was ahead, and they were telling us, "You guys, you need to study, you need to do this, you need to work on your scores, work on your tests and all that." And sometimes as students, you may take it, especially as university students and people who are done in high school, now they are out here in the world, people are doing various stuff. It may not really make sense until you're actually in it, until you actually start seeing, by the way, I need to start pulling up my socks. Like the guy who was saying that they need to catch up with projects and all that, it reaches a point where you really see that you need to achieve certain goals. You need to have something that you're doing. And that is where grit comes in. Grit comes in to make you embrace focus, number one. Grit also comes to make you try all means possible to achieve that focus. Grit is also a quality that will make you do whatever it takes, sacrifice whatever it takes. And then that is where perseverance for very long-term goals comes in. It will make you persevere, endure all the hardship. Like you had seen in the previous slide, the guy who was trying to climb the mountain. Like you see, it is tough. You will even get blisters here on your fingers and all that. But you have to push yourself because you want to achieve something. You want to get somewhere. For you to, let's say you're traveling from Nairobi to Kisumu, you don't stop on the way. Actually, if you have used these public service vehicles, they don't stop. Most of them, they just stop for a little bit for a couple of breathings and refreshments. But the journey is continuous, because if you are to reach somewhere, you need to embrace grit such that you will put on hours and hours of beating your craft, like the way Will Smith is saying. And beating your craft is not something easy, like how it is being put there. It is not easy. When you're beating something, it's not something that is very, very enjoyable. If you have to persevere something, it means that this is something that is really getting to you. It's not something that's easy. Allow me to proceed to the next slide. So, yes, as you can see here, this is a definition I also got from the internet. And I was trying to find out the origin of grit, and I found out that it's from German origin, and it meant that grit is an illustration of sand or dust or the earth. As we all know, as the Bible says, that the earth was cursed because of the sin of our first parents. So, and then here in Kenya, they call Nairobi Shamba la Mawe, like Nairobi, for example. That's in Swahili, meaning a place that's very rocky, very hard. And we all know, for these buildings that you see, the sand that is put there, once you mix it with cement and all that, that substance becomes so rigid, so hard. It becomes even something you may not want to look at. The same way with dust. Nobody likes dust, actually. Nobody likes the experience of dust. Nobody would like to be sleeping on sand, and nobody would like to hit their feet against the earth, because all these things are things that are pretty hard. That is why you can see from the illustration there, the rock, I don't know how it's coming out, but it's supposed to be a rock that is so hard, such that it's even rugged and crafty, on the edges. So it's hard for you to even make sense of what this is actually. But you see, it's embedded there, grit. This is what grit is. Grit is something that is tough. Grit is tough. Grit is something that not everybody will like to have their skin against. Grit is something that not everybody will want to admire. Not everybody will take up because it's not easy. Not everybody will like. If I ask any of you here who would like me to smear some sand on them, to smear some dust on them, who would like to sleep just barely on the hand, nobody, I'm sure nobody would like to do that. But this is what grit is. Grit is that quality that enables people to move. Grit is that quality and that character that you have it in you, such that no matter what comes, no matter what experiences come your way, you will still move. You will still want to, you will still hang in there. You will still persevere. If you ask a teacher who is teaching in rural classes and rural schools, it's hard. The other day, I was hearing another lecturer. We had gone for some motivational talk elsewhere, and that place was really in the interior of Vihiga County. Even the network was pretty gorgy. So the lecturer, once we were driving out, she was saying, hey, I wouldn't want to teach here. I wouldn't want to be sent here by the DSC. Even if they give me transport allowance, I wouldn't want to do that. But I'm telling you, that is what grit is. Grit is that character that no matter where you're placed, no matter where you're pushed, no matter the experiences that are around you, the environment, you're still willing to persevere. You're still willing to endure. You're still willing to push it, to push it, to push it until you get to your goal, until you achieve that thing that you wanted to achieve. Because you see, once you already have a goal in mind, let's say by the end of the year, you want to achieve a certain project, you want to build a certain app. Let's say by the end of the year, you want to, let's say by 6 months, you want to have done maybe Python to your level best. Like I like the way Maureen was starting us off, and she was saying that when she was on campus, it was pretty hard for her to balance classwork with what she was doing and all those projects. So it's actually an experience that's out there. And sometimes it can be hard to even balance between the two, but we're going to cover that in a little bit. But I'm just trying to say and to explain that grit is what pushes you. Grit is what gives you the perseverance, the hardship, to hang in there, to hold on, like how you're seeing this rugged rock that is just on your screen. It's something that is not so pleasing, but grit is still embedded there. You're still willing to push it. You're still willing to try, no matter how hard it's going to be. If you allow me to proceed to the next slide. Let me now break down grit so that we can also proceed properly. I see time is still okay with us. So grit is stamina. Grit is a marathon, grit is consistency, and grit conquers failure. So I'm going to start with grit is stamina. Grit is holding on for the longest time. Like I was explaining, the guy who was climbing, you can picture someone who is climbing a mountain, or picture even yourself doing it. You know, a mountain is not something that is just a bed of roses. Okay, picture someone who is really climbing. Like there's a movie I've watched for Tom Cruise. Is doing mountain climbing, so he has to even apply some powder on his hand, on his palm, so that he doesn't like really exercise some friction on his palm, such that he will start having blisters. You know, you have to at least even sometimes apply some kind of smoothing surface, some substance on your palm, so that you can have the good grip, and then you can climb the mountain pretty well. So grit is stamina. Grit is that quality that will make you hold on, even if the blisters are coming, even if you see you're not reaching the top of the mountain, even if when you look down, you see it's a long way down, you cannot let go. Even when you see when you try to see the top of the mountain, you're not seeing it, but you're still holding on. You're still putting in your arm in there. You're still holding on. You still want to hold on. You still want to push it. You still want to do it, even when the code is not running, even when you're doing all manner of debugging and it's not working. Even when there's a time I was working on some project, I was building an online admission system. I was trying to Google online, I couldn't see. There's an error that was actually really bothering me. It took me 3 days to just debug an error and fix it. I was Googling Stack Overflow. I even switched browsers. Can you imagine? Because I was feeling like it's this browser that's not bringing the right data. So I was imagining switching browsers. I'm trying YouTube. I'm trying it's a framework called Laravel. I was trying even the community Laravel community and all that. I came to Python the other day also. I'm trying to do some code that we were given. I have been doing a 21 days challenge on Python, but there was this code that was really troubling me. We had to do an encryption on some data, and it was really giving me a headache. You try for 3 days again. You try to Google Stack Overflow. You try to Google you try even asking the mentors, they tell you, no, this one you have to do it by yourself. You try asking Google, you try asking YouTube, you try asking even other social media posts.
But there's nothing.
Sorry. Can I proceed?
Sure, kindly. It's okay,
yeah,
kindly.
So I was explaining that about the error I was facing. So you try sourcing for help everywhere you can, but there is no help. That is where I now switch to God, and I told God, my God, I have looked for everywhere, for every place I know. I have looked everywhere, and this is something that even I had reached a point. I wanted to delete that project and I start again, because I was feeling like where I have reached, I'm so stuck. Maybe I made a mess up somewhere. I need to delete this and start over again. But to surprise you, Tuesday the next week, I had closed the project on Friday. On Saturday evening, I had said, no, I can't do this anymore. Tuesday the next morning, getting up, I just go through the code and I see exactly what was missing. And you know what was missing? An art sign. It was an art sign that was missing on the back end that I was developing. An art sign that was just missing, and that would have made me destroy the whole project and start again. But you see, with stamina, even if you close the project, you still want to come back. You still want to embark on what you are doing. Even if it's your business, even if you're making losses every week, you still want to hold on there. You still want to hang in there. And I will explain why this is so, why you still want to continue, why you still want to hold on, no matter what is happening. I will explain in a bit. So that is what grit is about. Grit is stamina, such that you can hold on to, you can still put your hands in there, even if you see like you're developing blisters when you're climbing the mountain. Even if the ladder you're climbing seems to be like it's knives you're holding on to, it's knives, so they're cutting you. So even if there's that pain, you don't stop. Grit is also a marathon. So I will explain this way. Grit is living a life as a marathon, not a sprint. As I was explaining, as a university student, there are things that may make you fail to balance, and sometimes you may feel like you're not doing enough on one side. Sometimes you may feel like you're leaning onto your studies too much. Sometimes you may feel like you're doing other co-curricular activities too much. Sometimes you may feel like you're not doing your projects the way you're supposed to. For example, I am an IT student, like I've explained. We have classes mostly throughout the week. It's only this time that we have an exception. But most of the cases is just about having classes throughout the week, and you're supposed to read your notes, you're supposed to make notes, you're supposed to complete assignments, to sit for your cards and do even the takeaways, and also you have a main exam at the end of the semester. So there is that. But you see, now with me, I don't like just basing my scope on what we are being given on campus, because if I am honest with you, if I just depended on what we are being given on campus, I wouldn't be here even speaking with you. I wouldn't. I'm one person who likes to venture out there and see what's out there, and not just be contented with the little you're seeing from maybe campus. Or I want to explore and see things because it's a passion I'm having in tech. So that is how I got here. So sometimes it can be hard to balance between my classwork and the projects I'm doing, and even other opportunities I'm looking for out here. But one thing I will tell you, grit, as much as it pushes you to do something, it pushes you to have the stamina and to maintain a steady a steady curve, a steady line, best line of feet, like on the polynomial curves and all that. A steady inclined chase to your goals. It is not a sprint. A sprint is like for 100 meters, the one that you want to run quickly, the one that you want to sprint, the one that you want to be seen as the fastest, the one that you do instantly. Yeah, and then you're there at the finish line. But a marathon, you go for kilometers and kilometers and kilometers. You go for a couple of meters, hundreds of meters, actually. And so I have been told, I've not confirmed whether it's true really, but I have heard that when people are doing the marathon out there, myself, I just cycle. I've not really based myself on running. So I may not really know whether it's true or not, but I have heard from credible and trusted sources that a marathon, actually you don't start with any fast pace. A marathon, you just start like you're walking, and then you go while increasing. And truth be told, you might start with a certain speed, like let's say 10 meters per minute or something like that. I don't know what range that would be. And if you maintain that pace, you might even be the winner. You might make it to the top 3. Not compared to like a sprint, you have to really like spring out. You have to really like be chased, like you're being chased out instantly. That is not part of grit. That is something that's called it's if I can put it pretty well, it's someone who does things in a sprint way. Is someone who is quick to make decisions. They want to achieve something today, now, here and now. And that is quite different from grit, because grit will tell you, no, you don't have to finish it all today. You don't have to reach 100 meters today. This is a marathon. We are going for 10,000 meters or 10,000 meters, yes, or that's 10 kilometers. We are going for 10 kilometers, but we don't have to cover a whole kilometer today. We can do 500 meters. We can please mute your mic. Thank you. So I'm saying grit will tell you we don't have to do a whole 2 kilometers today. We can do 500 meters today. We can do 600 meters tomorrow. We can do 200 meters the day after. So grit will tell you we don't have to accomplish the whole task today. It's not like a sprint where you have to really run and make it to the end and be the first one. Grit will tell you, because actually, let me tell you, a marathon, many people give up along the way because you see they get out of oxygen, they get exhausted pretty quickly because it's a long distance. It's not something that you accomplish, and I will illustrate this in a later slide that you will see. It's not something that you want to finish today. A sprint can be like 200 meters, 100 meters, but a marathon is majorly 10 meters there, that range, a long distance, such that you don't have to run so quickly, 100 meters in 1 second, in 10 seconds, like Usain Bolt. You don't have to do that. Be like Eliud Kipchoge. In 2 hours, you have done 10,000 meters. In 2 hours, you have done a couple of kilometers. In 2 hours, you have done this. All right. You don't have to sprint for 10 seconds and then you get tired. You don't have to do that. Grit will tell you, yes, we have to achieve a goal, but we don't have to achieve it today. We can break it down. That is why I call this grit breakdown. You can break it down into small portions, and then eventually you will achieve it. And through that, I will link it with grit is consistency. Consistency births excellence. So this is actually a quote I was told by a pastor friend of mine who mentored me while I was learning music. I'm also a bass guitarist and a pianist. So the pastor who was teaching me that music told me this: consistency births excellence. Such that the way I was explaining about a marathon and a sprint, grit is consistency. Grit is consistent, in other words. Grit will tell you, let us do this today. We do this other part tomorrow. We don't have to finish the whole project today. Like the guy Rashid who was speaking and saying that they are doing their portfolio. You don't have to build their whole portfolio today. You can do today, you can do it in 3 days. Just divide it in portions. As long as you maintain a consistent behavior, a consistent approach every day. Like there's a lecturer also who told me, his name is Mr. Eugene. He told me, make sure every day at least write, even if it's just one single line of code. That will have made a whole lot of difference instead of waiting for a whole week. Then on the weekend is when you want to do it. On the weekend is when you want to achieve a whole project. Actually, I will tell you this point. Consistency, I mean, approach or embrace consistency, but do not go for instancy. Do not do things instantly. Do them consistently. Do not do things immediately. Do them in bits. Do them in bits. Do them in bits. Most of the times, a financial advisor friend of mine also told me that most people, they get into bad debts and they are unable to finish even paying their loans because they just got up one morning and decided, you know what, today I'm going to the bank and I'm going to get this loan for this thing without even a proper plan, without even deciding how to actually do it, because they wanted that money instantly. It's not like an emergency. Do not take it as an emergency. Don't take your goals as emergencies. In as much as you want to commit to them, do not take them as emergencies, because when you take them as emergencies, number one, you will get burnouts. Number two, you will start getting sick. Number three, you will start even running out of your mind. Number four, you will never accomplish that goal. You see, so when you take your goals with urgency, such urgency that you want to achieve it today, you have decided today, I want to know Flutter. You go to YouTube, you want to learn all the crash courses on Flutter. You go to YouTube, you want to learn all the crash courses on that, on Python and all that. It doesn't work that way. It works bit by bit. Rome or London wasn't built in one day. Okay, so these big things that you see out here, they were not done in one day. That is why people have night shifts and day shifts, because you also have to rest. And what you do today, if you do it tomorrow and you do it the next day, the fourth day it will be perfect. Not perfecting it on the first day. Then breaking down on grit, I'll finish with grit conquers failure as we begin rounding up, because time is also going. Grit conquers failure. So grit is not stopped by failure, rather it is propelled to come back stronger. Failure doesn't stop grit, instead it makes it come back stronger. Somebody who is embracing the character of grit is someone who, even if they have a stumbling block in front of them, even if today they write code and they're supposed to deliver to the client tomorrow, and they finish it, and the client tells them, you know what, I didn't like this project this way. This project was not looking exactly how I wanted it to look. That person will not give up there. And they will still go back to the drawing board and even start from scratch maybe and do it again. And number two, for example, me. Many times I have gone to people, or I have been into groups, and I find myself like I am the one who is knowing the least there. People seem to have really advanced. And when maybe we're given a task and maybe I don't make it top 3, do you know, most of the times, even when I'm not in the top 3 or even top 10, but like there was a class we were having with Rashid here, the web development by Immobilis, where we're having a web development class and all that. And there were those who were top 3, ladies, top 3, best, the top 3, and all that. I had given my all to my project, but I didn't make it to top 3. But that did not stop me there. You know, right now, I post things in that group, and even the mentors and the lecturers, and even those who are top 3, the top 1, 2, and 3, they congratulate me and tell me, you know what, even as we have not, I have done it in my inbox. And many have really told me that. Not even that, not only in that group, also in another one where we met with, I think it was Jackson. The people I post there, we were learning JavaScript, and myself, by then I was not getting anything in the class. I was not, because by then I was doing PHP, but I just took on JavaScript so that I can learn at least and see what is this going on here. But I was not getting anything. I just said, okay, fine, this thing is only for I think it was 12 days. And I said, let me commit myself for 12 days. I get that certificates. Maybe later on, I will go and learn JavaScript pretty well. And nowadays, I post things there. And the lecturers who are taking us through that, they commend me. And they tell me, you know what, you have come a long way. We are seeing great progress. Even the other day, I was shocked. Mr. Wanyama, who was taking us through the web development course in Immobilis, my friend Rashid can attest to that. When they saw that I had posted this poster of that I'm speaking to great people, great minds, and who are doing Flutter and other extensions out here, he congratulated me. And this is someone who rarely talks in the group, someone who you might call and they may not pick up your calls, not because they're ignoring, but they are very busy. But seeing that comment from that post that I made, it really encouraged me, because if I had said I didn't make it to top 3, oh, I'm not even being seen like I can code, oh, I'm not being seen like I can develop things. I mean, if I had taken that and embraced some negativity in me and said, oh, you know what, to hell with this, I cannot do this anymore. If I had done that, I wouldn't have been here. Most of the times we take up failure and we are just one step closer to our goal. And because maybe we have tripped and we have fallen a little bit, we now give up there. We don't know what would have lied ahead there. Yesterday, I was watching a movie called Woman King. And I was telling a friend of mine watching with that, that Woman King was training some girls in the village to become warriors to defend their king. And one of the girls was really doing it so well. She was really courageous and bold, and she was drawing the spears pretty well. And do you know, this woman who was training them, they saw a mark on the back of that girl, and she realized that this was her daughter, who she had lost, and not losing without knowing, but losing for throwing her away, because the woman had been raped, so she didn't want to be entangled with that. So she just told the maid, take this girl away, maybe take her to some of children's home or something, or just throw her away. And then years later, the woman, that same woman who was raped and now gave birth to this girl, is seeing that girl and is seeing how powerful that girl is becoming. So I was telling a friend of mine, in this life, do not ever cancel out a situation that you say, this one can never be anything. Like that woman who had said, my child, I don't think this one is fit to be with me. She has come even as a misfortune. I have been raped, that is why I'm having her. But later on, that girl became something powerful. She was the one who actually gave victory to that village. And so sometimes we may want to cancel ourselves out. Let's say you have begun learning Flutter today. Tomorrow you're not getting it. A week later you're not getting it. You say, you know what? I'm not doing Flutter anymore. To hell with Flutter. I don't want Flutter anymore. Do you know chances of you making it in Flutter? Maybe they were 99% after you picking up yourself from that failure. And now you have canceled yourself out. You will never really know what would have lied ahead. You would have never really known what was ahead if you had given up. I hope we're still together. I'm trying to summarize. Now we can go to just a few slides that are remaining with, and then we can call it an evening. So what a great initiative. That was actually the topic of the speech today. What it takes to embrace grief. Like you can see, this is another mountain climber. You see how I was explaining, gripping that piece of rock on the edge so that you can climb ahead. It's not something that's easy, because you see this guy is actually wrinkling his face. He's not wrinkling because he's enjoying it. He's wrinkling it because it's painful. He's actually having blisters, and that's why they apply some powder. You get blisters, it gets so hard, you cannot turn back, because if you turn back, the chances of dying are very high, extremely high. You just have to keep on going and keep on going. So what does it take to embrace grief? Number one is passion. So as you can see, this other mountain climber here, own up to the adventure. You know, most of the times people may ask someone like this, or people may ask you as a developer, why are you always coding? Why are you always on your machine? Why are you always trying to debug codes? Why are you always doing Flutter? What is it with you? What did you see in Flutter? And you can tell them it's passion. Like if you ask this mountain climber, why are you always climbing a mountain? What are you getting there? Is there a girlfriend up there that you want to go and meet? Is there a job you want to start in the mountain, or what is it you want to go and find there? But it's because of passion, because of something that is inside them, because of something that you own up to, because it's something that you embrace and you take it to be your own. It makes you get out of bed every day. It makes you push out there. It's like somebody who It's like, let's say, for example, a pastor who has started a church, no members, no offering, no nothing. But because it's a passion in them and a calling, they still want to go to church every day. They still want to be found in church every day, Friday evening, praying and fasting, because it's a passion in them. Most of the times, people don't have a reason for passion. People may not have you may not have a reason why you love Flutter. You may not really have an exact reason why you get up in the morning for that. I don't know whether we're still together. Hello, sorry, I just got a call and I think we're still together. You can confirm, please.
Yeah, we're together.
So sometimes we don't have a reason for passion. We don't have a reason for why we are doing something so passionate.
Hello, Gitonga is still there.
Like if you ask this mountain climber call again, sorry, I just got interrupted, sorry. But I'm saying, sometimes you may not have a reason for passion. And most of the times if you are asked, why are you always coding? Why are you always doing projects in Flutter? You may not have an exact reason. And that, hello?
Yeah, you keep breaking, coming back and going away. I don't know what's up.
It's someone who is just who is interrupting me. I don't know why they're doing that, but I think they have stopped now. I am using my phone to hotspot my device, so when I get a call, it breaks the net. That is why I'm breaking. Sorry about that. I hope they will not call again.
Yes, understandable.
So I was talking. Hello.
Yeah, you're audible now. You're audible.
Yeah, sorry. I just had to stop them because now they were becoming a nuisance.
Nice.
So I was explaining about passion, and I was saying that most of the times you may not have a reason for passion. It's just something that you like doing. Like me, when I tell people that there was a time I was actually I do sit on my machine even for 18 hours a day, and you just find me there, and I will not wake up. Like when I was doing that project, I was telling about the online admission system. I would leave my house at 7 a.m., get to somewhere I was going to sit at 8 a.m. I will leave there at 5 p.m. And then at 5 p.m., I go back home. At around 7, I'm seated again until 12. Those were extreme hours, I know. But you see, people are asking me, like my sister was asking me, why are you always on your machine? Every other time on your machine. And when she's seeing the code running, she thinks the machine is getting interrupted or it has a virus. When she's seeing the code run, like you see when you're having a while loop and it's an infinite loop when it's running and running and running, she will see things like that and she will start asking, oh, Denzel, what is this? Your machine is dying. You see, so people will not really understand you, but that is grit. That is why you have to embrace this grit. It takes passion, first of all. It takes you to like this thing. It takes you to own up to coding, even if you find errors that are really killing it, errors that are really seeming unfixable. Number 2, consistency. As I was saying, consistency births excellence, and I will say it again. If you can look at this illustration here, the way I was explaining that you don't have to do a whole project today. Like you see, there's this guy who is down here. He's trying to climb up here. Fine, fair enough. But you see, he wants to do it in a way that is like sprinting. He wants to ignore all these little steps here. He wants to ignore all this and just skip to this. It's like when we were in primary school here in Kenya. There are these books, mathematics books, which had a ladder. So a ladder from class 1, a ladder, and then next you hop to class 2, you climb to class 3, like that until class 8. So there was one meme that was coming around that you just go around from class 1, you just skip That's it. And there's nothing like that. You have to come through all these steps. You don't skip like this. You see, it's even hard for him to reach the first goal, the first step. It's hard for him to reach. But see this one, who started with a very little step. Very little step. It was even a baby can do this. You go the next, even a teenager can do this. A youngster can do this. A merely adult can do this. But now you start climbing. You go even past what this other person who was thinking that if I just hit it like this, or if I just hit the mark like this, I will have gone this step, this step, this step. You see, it's even the margin is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And the more you are getting, you make yourself look like you want to do things today instantly. It is hard for you to reach this goal. You better set a goal that you achieve, and then after that goal, you set it like a mark that will uplift you to the next, instead of having such a high esteemed goal, having such a high esteemed pattern, such that you want to do it today, Monday, and then you want to do it the next Monday. You set this whole margin. Instead of doing it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, you give yourself the weekend to rest. Then you go back again. Monday, Friday, like I was doing this on GitHub myself. I said I would be giving examples with myself. Like on GitHub, you see, and on GitHub, even if you make one commit today, it will be counted that this guy was here, he was doing something. At least he has pushed something. Even if you make 5 commits a day, and then you get that bright block, the green block, when you get it so bright, it's fair enough. Instead of doing 100 commits, it's even tiring, you know. Do 5 today, do 5 tomorrow. It will even make that GitHub profile beautiful. Instead of doing 100, then the next time you're doing another 100 is after a month or 2. You see, it doesn't make sense. Even when people are looking at your GitHub profile, they will ask, this guy does not have consistency in their place. They will do code today, they do it after 2 weeks, they do it after 1 week. Instead of doing it like you do today, tomorrow, that is how you achieve it. And that is what it takes. Even if you will take 1 hour just coding or 30 minutes coding, you don't have to do a whole 18 hours like I was doing. I stopped that, by the way, because I realized I couldn't manage anymore. It was stressing me. I do it 3 days, I'm worn out. I do it 2 days, I'm worn out. But once I started to embrace like 2 hours, do code, 3 hours at least, at most, maybe 3 hours at most, then you give yourself a break or the day off. The next day you go back, you do it. You will even have a comprehensive learning. You will even have a goal, a growth mindset. You know, a baby is not born today and then they start eating today. A baby is not born today and then tomorrow they are wedding. Someone is not wedding today and then the next day, you know. That is why people don't get pregnant today and then the next morning they're delivering. It takes 8-9 months. If God made that logical like that, why? Who are you now to start doing things immediately and as soon as possible? I mean, even if we are talking about achieving and committing to your growth, to your goals, do it consistently. And this consistency will make you learn. If you do things instantly, the chances of you forgetting what you have done are very high. But if you do them slowly and slowly and slowly, your chances of you learning and actually going back and doing this, like I was doing Python the other day, and I've realized with the consistency that I'm developing, at least I'm even able to write a whole code that is pretty complex. And I'm just a beginner, but a whole code that is pretty complex in Python. But because I have done it consistently and I've done it time and again, I did not do a whole crash course 1 day or 4 hours. I'm good in Python. No, you do it slowly. And then my second last slide, I think. So I'm going to depict this. The last item is patience. The last item is patience. So if you can see from this, sorry, I don't know what happened there. Yes, we are here. Sorry, technology issues. Try again. You can look here. Try again. Try, fail, try again. You see, this is a cycle. This is what I call consistency. You see, it makes you learn. This process of trying and failing, try again and failing. You know what it's doing to you. You might not see it, but this is how you're developing muscles in coding. This is how you're developing muscles in whatever it is you're doing. This is how you develop muscles in whatever task you're doing. When you do it consistently, when you do it time and again, that is why when you are, maybe for those who know how to cycle here, when I was learning cycling, I'm a very good cycler. I go for long distances, and I like it. It's a hobby I do. When I was learning how to cycle, you learn it. I was trying to force it. I want to learn this thing by this day, by the next day, and then you don't know what. By that process, I was getting hurt. Like that time, I wanted to force it, and I wanted to learn it there, and then I got really hurt. I almost lost my toe. But eventually I came to realize you don't learn something today and tomorrow you are a master in it. No, you will learn today, the next day you try again, the next day if it doesn't work, you can even give yourself a rest, and the next day you pick it up from there. That is what this illustration is showing here. You try, you fail. You don't stop there, you don't give up. Remember, this is patience we're talking about. You are not that bad, you're just green. I'll explain that in a bit. So you try and fail. And then you keep on going back, you keep on going back, you keep on going back. You might want to balance your studies. You might want to balance between what you're doing. You might see like you're not striking a balance between what you're doing, but you don't crash. You don't say, to hell with all this. I don't want to do this. Try, even if it is 2 hours, you give 2 hours to study. You say today I'm doing this course, I'm going to study this course for maybe an hour and another one for an hour. Those are 2 hours a day. Everybody is given 24 hours. Bill Gates and even everybody else, even Kenyans, we are given 24 hours. Nobody ever has 28 hours. Actually, you may, if you hear someone saying that they have 28 hours, it's time that they make for themselves and maximizing on their time. So if you want to strike a balance between your studies and all this, it has happened to me. You just assign a few hours to something. You will do them progressively in a long distance, not all of it today. Not that you want to study a whole semester in one day. It doesn't make sense. Not that you want to study a whole unit in one day that you have been taught for 4 months. You want to squeeze it to 6 hours. You want to study it before the exam, before the cut. If you would have, I was telling a friend of mine, you will not have the pressure of studying for exams. If you do it today, you have been taught, that day you go and revise a little bit, you remind yourself, it will stick in your brain. Instead of compiling those notes and then the D-day to the exam, that's when you're asking for all the PDFs. If you read consistently. And I'm saying, you try, you fail. You try again until you eventually succeed. While you are doing all that, while you're doing all your projects, when you're doing all your campus work, try, fail, restructure. Try, fail, restructure. That is what I do. If I see I have allocated some time to some project and it's not working, I try, give it like 3 days trial. If it's not work, I restructure again. Have that ability to be flexible, such that you will not hit the wall and then you stop there. Even cars, when they get accidents and they break, they don't just stay there with the accident. They're taken back to the garage. Most of them are brought back on the road eventually. So that's it. You try again. After you fail, you try again. Do not be afraid of failure. Actually, embrace failure because it will make you be able to learn. Failure will make you learn. Use failure as an atmosphere of learning, not to make yourself feel, oh, I'm too bad at this. I can never be so good at this. If people have done it, if people have developed great systems and they were not starting while they know what they are doing or they understood the concept, I'm sure most of us started very green. And eventually you're building big systems. Like yesterday, I was reading a text and I was seeing someone was saying they started without knowing anything. In the course I was saying the Powerland projects, they started without knowing anything. But eventually,
and now it's the chance to play the final and do the best that we.
Sorry, okay. Just taking on time. I think I should now be starting to sum up. So yeah, keep trying. As you see the caption on this photo here, keep trying. And then now I come to this patience. You are not that bad, you're just green. So most of the times, this statement, I got it from a friend, a mentor, who was taking us through the JavaScript I was explaining. And they were telling us the difference between a good developer and a fairly good developer. You know, the difference between someone who would be called a good developer and not such a good developer. And they were saying, most of the times a good developer will tell them will tell themselves this statement: you are not that bad, you're just green. What does this mean? Sometimes you may cancel yourself out on some promotions or even tasks and even assignments that are given to you, or even projects, and you may tell yourself, oh, I can never be good at Flutter. I can never really build a system that can be AAA rated. I can never really be be developing systems that can be 5-star rated or anything like that. But you have to tell yourself this statement. Aside from that, you are not that bad. You're just green. Being green means you're starting something. Being green means you're just having the new knowledge on that thing. Like say when I was starting Python just a couple of weeks ago, I was green. I was pretty new, completely new to Python. Or let's say Flutter, for instance. If you're starting Flutter today, you will be that is what we call being green. And when you're starting something like a baby, you see you're in that level of a baby. If a baby was able to reason and say, oh, I can never walk like that man who is walking there. Oh, I can never write down like how this man is writing down. Like if my sister now sees me writing, and when they were in class or when they were just joining a school, they see my handwriting and they say, oh, I can never write as well as my brother. But now they're writing well. You see, it's just that sometimes you have to start. And when you're starting, things don't look so well. Even buildings, when you're building the foundation, nobody can really tell that this thing is going to be looking like State House, like White House, like a 5-star rated hotel, like Sarova or Serena or Villa Rosa or any of that. When these things were being started, nobody would even tell what are you doing. Like even on they were constructing the expressway on Thika Road or on Wayaki Way, nobody would have told that would have been such a great road like that. Even the SGR, nobody would have said it would have looked like that. Sometimes when things are starting, you don't even see the structure. So do not make mistake that and say that, oh, I'm a total complete failure. You're just starting. And the good thing with starting is that you have the chance to make all the mistakes you can, all the mess ups you can, until now you're starting to learn and consistent. You see, all these things are connected. You have to maintain that level of consistency. And then finally, hang in there. Do not give up. One more push, if you can read from these statements. Can you see this man who is here? I don't know whether you can see my mouse. And also this other one down here, the one who is digging for gold. This is supposed to be gold here. The bluish you can see from these two guys here. So this one who is digging, I think you have seen this on your statuses on WhatsApp. I don't know. This one who is digging is not giving up. They are not even close, but they are not giving up. But this one who is just one more push from finding the gold, they have now turned away because they feel like, I have been digging for too long. I'm not getting close to where I'm supposed to get. But just see the difference where they were. Just one more dig and it would have been victory. Just one more dig and they would have achieved the whole project. Maybe this is you, or maybe this is also you. To this person who is here, I want to tell them today, do not give up. Keep pushing, keep learning, keep digging, keep grinding until eventually you will get here. Do not be like this other fella here who has gotten all the way in. They're at the 9th point, but when it's come to getting to the 10th point, they miss it. Do not be someone who has been having her pregnancy for 8.5 months, and then when it's now 2, you mess up. That is when you want to do the abortion. Okay, for the cases of misconception, I really am not judging. I'm not saying that's anybody's fault or anything. But for someone who wants to take out the baby when they are even 8 months pregnant, I don't know whether that's logical or not. I don't know. But don't be someone who is just at the peak of getting there and then you give up. Don't be that. Be someone who is patient, because patience goes along with grit, which is what we're talking about here. So don't give up. Be like this guy who is pushing up the ball uphill. So this is another task, hard task. So don't give up. Hang in there. Hang in there. Hang in there. Hold on there. No matter how hard it seems, even if you feel like you're not learning Python, you're not learning Flutter pretty well, you're not doing well, hang in there. Keep digging. Keep grinding. Keep grinding. Try again. Fail, and then eventually you will succeed. So I think that's my last slide, and I want to say thank you all for having your time to listen to me. I think I will stop it there now. Thank you so much, Maureen and the court for having me, and everybody else who was joining. I see we were 17 of us. Thank you so much. These are my contacts if you may want to reach me, and I would appreciate maybe a feedback or comment as on the call. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Bitonga. And yes, I don't know if there's any questions. So if there's a question, you can always unmute and ask. But from me, I just want to say, I mean, that was a great talk, and I was just following it up, and I wanted to ask a few questions since we have your student, and I see a few professionals here. What I mean by professional, so academics, that is. When I say academics, I mean lecturers and the people who are creating the content at the university levels, the researchers and stuff like that. So there's usually a misfit. I mean, in terms of, and Gitonga, you can chip in if you can say something about this. There's usually a misfit in terms of the content. I mean, content being delivered at the university level, and what is out here. I mean, in the real world. And when I say this, I mean, for instance, you find that personally, I believe that the content is usually there. I mean, because it's based on research, and the syllabus is supposed to make you a fully, if you're doing computer science or IT, you're supposed to be a fully equipped computer scientist. That is by the end of the 4 years you're doing this. But you usually realize there's a disconnect, because you realize somebody gets out of university, he has to go to boot camp, and for them to be good at this, majority, like 90% of people usually get out of the university, they usually go to boot camp for them to get out. What I'm talking about is programming, that is, to be specific. They usually get to boot camp to get this straight, and also you go to university, you go to for year students, you realize that majority of them don't understand what it entails to be a software developer, that is. And sometimes I believe that the content is there, but maybe they drive the research, and sometimes I usually say that the lecturers are supposed to be the ones who push them, point them in the direction. And the second question is with regards to the technology evolves. I don't know what they usually use to teach something like introduction to programming. They use C, and they teach me introduction to programming, and that was usually the procedural programming, the methodology, that is what we usually call this, when you talk about functional and talk about object oriented, I don't know which category to put them in, but they were talking about, when I was taught procedural programming languages, I was taught using C, and also that was what was used to teach me introduction to programming. But you realize that when you come to real world, you realize that you see that most academics institutions, for instance, if I go to something like the US, the MIT, and then the Harvards or the like, you see they use things like Python to teach object-oriented programming. But back here, we use languages which they're not obsolete, because I can't say they're obsolete per se, but they're out of touch per se, because in the long run, the university is supposed to be, as much as they're creating jobs for people, they're supposed to also create, I mean, creating people who will be creator of jobs. They're also supposed to create employees, and you realize that when you come to a place in Kenya, for example, in Kenya, to find where they write C really is you won't find it. It's really hard. I know a single company in Kenya which writes C as their main language, and so you teach people C, and then they get out, and then I don't know generally what you think about that, though.
I think I'd like to respond to those two questions. So, Mr. Okot, you see, with the content on campus, I'm very much well aware that the content that we are offered on campus is good. I will say it's good because, and fair enough actually, because this is content that gives students the basics. It's content that allows students to understand what exactly the IT world is all about. So I see there's somebody who raised a hand. Maybe you will let me finish, and then you would put your points to the front, maybe. But I'm saying the content that is offered by the lecturers or the university, and the curriculum and the syllabus, I think it's fair enough, because it gives you the basics. It gives you the basics and allows you to find out what exactly is expected of you out there in the world, like how you're putting it, Mr. Okon. and maybe to every other student. But there is this point I would like to really emphasize and put across pretty clearly. Do not depend on that content that you're fed in the university. Because as you had said, as you have just pointed out, Mr. Okoth, that you find that most of the graduates who come out of campus and they are set out to the world, even maybe say they want to look for jobs right there and then, and maybe they are called for interviews. You will find out that most of them just know a lot of theory, and sometimes that theory is not helpful. Sometimes that theory is not what even the job giver is looking for. What I mean is, what you're being given should not be enough for you. Like, I don't know whether this concept is true or not, but we are told in class that the lecturer gives you 25%, the other 75% you look for yourself. I have been hearing that song since high school. I don't know whether it's true or not, but this is what I will tell you. A student who is here, you're trying to balance between projects, between campus work and other projects that you're doing here. I was saying myself, I am not putting myself to be contented with that knowledge that is being given to me by the university. The university doesn't, like for my campus, we are not taught Python at all. We are not taught Flutter at all. We are not given really practical networking skills at all. Just a few hitches here and there, just a few trials here and there. And even in the practicals, you are not really, you don't have the really full access as how you would have if you're doing it individually. So someone who is really depending on what they're getting on campus, I think they're pretty missing it, because it's not enough. It's not enough, because you will get out of campus and you find out people are really doing a lot out here. People have done a lot of programming. People have done a lot of coding. People have done a lot of expeditions and adventures in the world of tech. Yet you thought your campus is just top high here. Like for me, let me tell you, and this I'm being honest, even when I'll be looking for a job, maybe, I don't know whether I will get to that point, but I don't know whether I will even look for a job. I don't know, or jobs will look for me. But I am not even banking on my degree. That is not to say that I'm not really working on I am really working on my grades. I'm really studying. As I was explaining, I have allocated time for studying and time for doing other things. But in my expeditions out here, I don't really have the degree in question. I don't really have the degree mind that if I get the degree now, I'll get a job. I don't have that mindset. I have the mindset of what can you do? Actually, I was told the other day, out here, it's more of what can you do? What can you offer? Because everybody has degrees. Everybody has papers and qualifications. So what difference will you make? And that is how now you start to set yourself out there and look for opportunities to learn, to do all this. All these classes I'm telling you I've been to, none of them are from campus. It's just looking for them online, associating, connecting with people, and then eventually you get this opportunity. And an opportunity like this, Flutter developer. I never knew there was Flutter Kisumu until I just went online. I had a connection of friends, they post, I asked them, what's this? They send me links, and that's how you get it. I hope that one I've answered clearly. And then now question two, maybe. Sorry, I was trying to answer question two before I hand you back. With the languages that you're saying, Mr. Okoth, the ones that you're explaining, the syllabus that is pretty outdated or becoming obsolete, if I can call it that way, I would say for a language like, for example, C, even me, I was started off with C. That's why I was saying content offered in university is supposed to give you the basics and get you to understand what is offered out there. For a language like C, it gives you the ability to have the mind of understanding the syntax of these programming languages. So C will tell you this is how you write, this is how you call the module for starting off the coding, this is how you put in the print, this is how you do the return, this is how you do your functions and all that. It gives you a clear mind, or it gives you the basics, of that. It's like, for example, when you are a baby, the food you used to be given was maybe say yams. Is it yams really? I'm trying to find the English words. In our language, you call them malenge. Yes, malenge and what else? And what else? Malenge and a lot of Weetabix and all that. You know, childish foods. But then you keep on growing. You keep on growing. Now you're introduced to sacotage. It's called sacotage, githeri. You start chewing the big things, what people are doing out here. So it's the same way. You may be given the basics, the small basics of C. And even when you're given that basic, they don't give you even the whole content that you will say, I'm now a good programmer in C. It's even need to practice and go out there. And then when you come out here, you find people are doing Python. You will not freely find like machine learning. I've not had anybody say machine learning in C. I've had Python many times, Python, Ruby sometimes, Python. But in campus, you will not be told Python, but like our campus. So it's good to have the basics from the campus, very good. It's good to have it in the syllabus. It gives people the mind of understanding this is how the structure of coding looks like, this is how it's done. But now it is your own effort as a student to look for these other sources, to learn Python. I think I have answered enough. Maybe if you have any other questions that need clarification,
Yeah.
I'll be happy.
Thank you. I think I'll give Ernest opportunity to say something before I explain the reasoning behind my questions, and as today mentioned, from the university perspective or from the students' perspective. Ernest, kindly.
I don't know if you guys can hear me.
Yes, we can.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, I would just like to give my 2 cents on the particular discussion about universities and the courses, also the IT courses. I feel like for starters, IT should be treated more like engineering in the sense that it should be more involving from the get-go. So what does it mean? It basically means that an IT course in any given university should run throughout the year, because because you're learning a particular skill and a practical skill. So you can't expect to internalize a particular skill from 3 hours of tutorials in class, but not even 3 hours, but 3 hours in a week tutorial by, let's say, a given lecturer, and expect that particular individual who was probably in a high school that basically offered, not offered, but there was a system in place that governed that particular high schooler from the moment he woke up to the moment he went to bed. There was something that he was going to do. So you leave that particular space and go into a university space where now you have your own free time to do things. You have your classes aren't as demanding, and you're expected to now do this particular IT course. And there's that disparity in the sense of practicality in ensuring that this particular individuals actually gets to practice. And from what Gitonga was talking about in terms of consistency, you can't achieve consistency if this particular thing that is being taught to you is not or what can I say, shoved down to you in a high school format. So if you leave that particular high school format where things were shoved down to you literally, and you, whether you like it or not, you were able to pick up the skill quickly. Because now if you compare how you used to learn maths in high school, you did it repetitive to a point where it became a significant part of you. But now when you come to uni, it's not that it's you're not much nothing much is demanded from you as much as in terms of continuous practice. So I think the people responsible with the university curriculum should really think about it, because any given practical skill that always requires you to practice over and over needs to be implemented in a manner that in any given time you're probably doing C, or you're doing Python or something. Because again, from just seeing how you're coming from a high school perspective where you used to wake up, let's say at 6 a.m., not even 6, you usually wake up from 5 a.m. and you had preps, morning preps, you had all the other classes, all the way till evening preps where you had to read because there was nothing else to do. It was easier to grasp those particular skills. And now you go now to uni, whereby for starters, you're just going there to do a particular course. You don't have much knowledge about that particular course you're doing, other than someone told you it's a marketable course, or it is quite demanding in the market, etc. So after enrolling yourself, then the realization comes that I might not make it in this particular course, and that's the biggest gap that you have in that terms of transition. Because now, the more further you get into the coursework in your particular uni, you start realizing, oh, I need to learn this, or I need to learn this particular thing, and even the curriculum itself doesn't satisfy necessarily the particular skills that you need to have. Because if you're doing IT, it's either you focus in networking, or cybersecurity, or programming, or databases, or cloud computing. And if you look at any given course that involves IT, they're usually brushed. And in truth, they're usually the most important ones. Because for me, I didn't understand as to why maybe I did communication skills. Maybe someone will argue, oh, communication skills is important, but that's a whole unit that for me feels like it wasn't necessary. I could have picked it up maybe in the first 3 weeks of in not introduction, but what is called when you're getting introduced to the campus life. The first 1 week or 2 weeks, they could teach me communication skills. I didn't. It never made sense to me to do communication skills for a whole semester. That wasn't particularly necessary. Even the other not social units, but they call it, I don't know, universal units that just everyone gets to do. For me, I
How many
think those
units?
kind of units, yeah, those kinds of units are meant to be done the first 2 weeks of campus. There's no need to extend them or rather prolong them to a manner that, especially if you're doing any practical uh, type of course, maybe IT or engineering, because they take chunks of time, and there's no whole there's isn't it's not as necessary. That's what I can say. Another thing, I feel like, yes, I would agree with Okot on the sense that some of the um, programming language that we were taught was, I don't know, for me, I felt it was a bit backward, especially since we did Pascal, and I did Pascal 2018. So you can imagine programming that was being done in the 90s now is what my lecturer is trying to teach me and tell me, oh, this Pascal and whatever. So it bothered me quite a lot because there were other languages by now, like 2018, Python was there, there's JavaScript, and like you're missing out. You're learning a piece of programming that is quite old. Not even, it's way old in terms of programming languages. It's not even ranked in most debates in terms of programming. And now you're being taught by a lecturer who maybe uses the same format that he has been using, maybe probably since time they were teaching that particular programming language till now. So you see, you feel left out, because now if you compare, and that's a problem I see mostly in public unis. So if you look at your competitors in private, they are having a bit of upper hand in the sense that they cover, let's say, Python. The moment their first year, first semester, they do Python, and there's actual labs of Python to actually do and practice on, that are tested on Python. Python is like the mandatory programming language that they have to carry through all the way till the end of their 4 years. So if that was even forced in ourselves in that manner, especially in a public institution, then it would have made sense and it would have been worthwhile the money. Another thing I would say also is the lack of awareness in terms of like the proper universities for young people to get into. Because this one I realized when I think it was in my second or third year, when you would find now an institution like JQuat was getting handpicked. People from JQuat were getting handpicked from different companies like Safaricom. Safaricom would literally go to JQuat and look for people from JQuat. And you guys from these other particular universities, you'll not even though you're doing the same course, you're disenfranchised in the sense that they don't consider you as highly as compared to people who are in JQuat. And you now for you in a personal level, you see like maybe I made a wrong decision into going to like Kenyatta University because they offer the same course, but it's not the same level as compared to JQuat. Why? Because you didn't know any better. No one told you like, oh, you should really consider if that particular university has a technology, it's more of a technological university. And that's why if someone can come to me right now and ask me what's the best university I can do for engineering, I'll definitely tell them, you go to JQuat or go to the Kimathi, where I'm pretty sure they do technological stuff. Don't go to this particular, don't go to UON, don't go to, why? Because you realize now the technology bit about it is what sets it apart compared to that particular field. And if that particular person wants to maybe get into teaching, I'll tell them, oh, go to Kenyatta University. You will be well suited for that particular course because that's their expertise. So that's my 2 cents on it. I really don't want to take much of your time, but that's my 2 cents.
Yeah. So the reason why I asked the question, I expected the answers to be on that directions, and I was looking at it from a perspective of two places: the student and the university, right? And thank you very much, Ernest and Denzel, for your responses. And looking at it from the student's perspective, you realize that Ernest have said that there are some universities which are offering better courses and maybe in a better way. I beg to disagree with that. And the thing is some people I know, very good programmers, didn't attend university, right? So I don't know where we'll categorize them in that situation. They did attend it at all, and they're one of the best. They're some of the best programmers I know. And from my observation, I've looked at the university's syllabus across as many as I can, and I realized that, like Gitonga said, that the syllabus is conclusive, right? It's very conclusive. It has everything. So you go through the syllabus, you understand its content properly, and you do a little bit of research, you will be okay. And when it comes to languages, something like C or maybe Java or maybe it does not matter really, because when you're doing C, a function in C is the same as a function is in Dart, in Python, and whatever it is. It does not really matter, right? So it does not matter really. So what I'm trying to say is sometimes it is a student's initiative to get out of the comfort zone. The lecturers, like Gitonga said, give you 25%. You're supposed to look for the 75%. The rest is yours, right? So you're supposed to push yourself beyond the syllabus. I'm being taught object-oriented programming using Java, and I'm supposed to understand that, okay, the lecturer will give me, majority of the time, I remember my exams, I don't know whether yours was this way, I was given a question that write a function which get the sum of the square of first 100 integers, something like that. So they ignite you, they give the spark, and then you go beyond that. So and I think that's very important for the student to understand that the universities in Kenya and also abroad, the same category. The only problem is that our system is so used to being spoon-fed. I mean, from the primary school up to the university level, to the high school, you're getting used to being spoon-fed to an extent that you cannot go outside your comfort zone and do the research. So that's the part of the student. And then the second part is the university part. So you know very well that our students are used to being spoon-fed, right? They don't know anything. They don't understand what research is. A few of them will be lucky. They get out of their comfort zone and then they know that. But majority of them won't get out of their comfort zone. And they'll pile the blame on the universities, that the universities are not good. The lecturers are don't. But what is the universities doing to ignite that, to make the students be more research oriented? I mean, what I mean by this is, for instance, in Kisumu, I mean, I'm from Western Kenya, and I know that we partner with the university like Masinde Muliro and Kisii University. They're very vibrant. And you realize that majority of and also if you look at JQuat very closely, you realize that the reason why JQuat, you feel like they're being picked is that they're partnering with these communities. For instance, Flata Kisumu, GDG Western Kenya, that's comprising of Kisii and Kisumu. We partner with this, and I know sometimes they call us like, okay, come, let's speak on this event, come speak on this event, come teach us this, come teach us this. And Masinde Muliro is very, very well known. I mean, in terms of in context of Western Kenya, is known to be producing one of the best developers in terms in student population. The reason is they are partnering with them, and the lecturer is very outgoing. If the students go there and say, okay, we want to take a bus, can you kindly go speak to administration on our behalf? They do that. And also if there is event is there, these lecturers will be very willing to secure the halls for them. And so I think it's both sides. So in terms of students, you're supposed to get out of your comfort zone and don't wait to be spoon fed. And also lecturers, you're supposed to know that our students are being spoon fed, and you're supposed to get them out of that, right? Yeah, so I think that's that. I don't know whether there's a comment or another question. We passed our time. I don't know.
I think I'd like to just make one point on what Ernest was saying. Hello, can you hear me? Yeah, about the universities and the placement and being in the right one and all that. I'd say when I was joining the one I am in right now, Mostly Friends University, I didn't like the idea that I'm coming to Western and the idea that I'm coming to university that I've never heard of, to be honest, and that nobody around my circle was aware of also. And I was even talking to a KU lecturer, Kenyatta University lecturer, and she told me, you know what, it doesn't matter really where you go. What matters is what you go to do there. What matters is you. Sorry. What matters is you. So I've come to realize that is very true, because the other day we went to Strathmore, our campus, and we went for an industrial trip there. And to surprise you, most of the students there, I came to later interact with them online. And when I showed them what I've been doing and what I do, they tell me, hey, you are very ahead. You're very ahead. Does your campus do this? I tell them, no, this is not campus. This is just my own adventure and expedition. And so I got to understand that it's not about, you might even be in struggle, like how Ernest is putting the private universities. You might even be there in those universities, but it's all about you, really. It's all about you, because no content is that they are offered there you cannot find online. No content that they are offered there you cannot research and get. Nowadays there's so much information in online, such that you might not even have attended any class, like how Mr. Okod was putting it, but you can be amongst the best. So okay, yes, it's good to be a good university and all that, but nowadays I don't count it as so much weighty compared to how much you yourself pushing it, you yourself searching it, you yourself doing it, you yourself getting yourself out there. Like for me, I've been in scenarios and environments with people who are in several universities. There is Joe's, there is KU, there is Strathmore, a couple from Strathmore actually, even JQuat. Yeah, actually a graduate from JQuat, and we're in the same session, and I show them what I'm doing, and they are amazed. They say, "Oh, Atasisia to the Peacock," or "We have not gotten there," and they want to know which university I'm from, and I want to tell them, "Okay, fine, I'm from this university, but it's not the university. It is me. It is not my university." So it's not okay. Fine, it's good to be in a good university, but what matters or what counts is what you yourself you do. Yeah.
Yeah. Let me just give my last sense on that. You know what? What I was saying is basically the idea is you as an individual, yes, you have that personal initiative, but the question is, do you actually know? Are you aware of what is around you to make that decisive decision to like actually go online and research this particular thing that you're learning? Because now if you take it from that perspective, you're assuming that everyone is aware enough to know that, oh, I can use this particular materials online and learn this particular topic, which is never usually the case. If that was the case, then probably we wouldn't be facing these challenges that you are facing. For me, I'm just saying in the sense that we have institutions which are geared or are suitable for that particular environment for you to learn. And if you're coming from straight from, let's say, high school, you're not wholesomely aware. Like for the things that I've learned for the past, I don't know, 6 months, I didn't learn much of them in uni, but through my own personal initiative. Why? Because I was made aware of, oh, there's something called cybersecurity, and there are actual platforms to like practice on cybersecurity and do CTFs and etc. But initially, when I was joining, I wasn't aware because I was in the mental frame of, rather mental state of like, I'm going to this particular university and I'm going to do this particular course. And what I was being given was what I'm getting from them. So it took some realization. And that's what I'm saying. It's up to realization where maybe in the second or the third year of my campus journey that I realized, oh, I was making a mistake. Now I need to focus on other things. And that's when I began to reach out to mentors, and that's when I brought myself to now this particular field in cybersecurity. Now when I'm like, oh, I needed to do this and this and this, and it made sense in that particular manner. In this retrospect, I do agree. It usually goes back to the personal initiative, and yeah, some people are being most university students are being spoon-fed, but again, it's the conditions. If you want to have an innovative society, then you have to put in certain metrics in place so that you can ensure that people become innovative. You have to create the right awarenesses in terms of innovation so that they can become innovative, because being innovative is a skill. Like it's a skill that can be passed around and can be actually taught, but you have to be made aware for you to even see that there's a particular gap. It's really hard for someone in, let's say, farming to realize that there is a technological gap in maybe social media. You have to be made aware of like, oh, there's this particular type of farming that it can be wholesomely introduced in to this particular social platform. Until the message is passed across, or rather the person in particular gets to be aware. And awareness now goes back to now and goes back to what now the people in the university are passing across. Because if you're starting out in learning, let's say the introductory stuff, which maybe are supposed to like cover everything and ensure that you have the enough to just get you started, and it turns out maybe you have other things to like add to that, then it becomes quite an uphill task, because now you've spent maybe the first 2 years of your campus life learning this particular thing, and it's not what will get you to the point B. Because in campus, maybe we used to learn calculus all the way to calculus 4. And for me, I feel like it was a waste, because I'm really trying to implement it in my day-to-day life, but it's not there. It's not as tangible as I've expected. So personally, I would say, rather than learning all the way to calculus 3, maybe I could do calculus 1 and then focus or branch out into something else that will be more helpful to what I want to achieve. And on the aspect that Okot mentioned, in the sense of like people need to like actually, there are programmers who didn't go to uni and actually were able to like become the best programmers. And you see, that's the thing now, like that's the thing, in the sense that the boot camps that they attend to are more intensive and are more demanding, because in a boot camp, you pay like, I don't know, 50 to 100K. So, you know, already at hand, you've spent that much money. And then it's intensive in the sense that you will wake up and sleep doing something that is programming oriented. That's not the case in any given institution, in the sense that they don't, you have several different units that you do in a semester, and they vary in types. You know, you might do some in mathematics, you might do some in a bit of programming, then there's the general units that you might do, and they're not as incentive. And that's why you'll definitely expect someone from a bootcamp to be more superior than someone who's in campus, because he's not being incentivized, in the sense that they're not making it seem more as demanding in a campus type of sphere. But anyway, those are my personal thoughts on this particular issue. I'm really grateful that you guys have raised it up, and also the points that you've made. I'll definitely put them into consideration. But yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much. We have passed the time with 1 hour. I don't know, Maureen, yes. I don't know if there's any other. Okay. There's a hands up. Okay, Dr. Nicholas, kindly unmute.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Yeah, as you've heard, my name is Dr. Nicholas Kiget. I've just keenly listened to Denzel. I want to thank him for the good talk, and many issues have been raised and discussed. I am a lecturer and head of the department, Information Technology, Moi University. A number of things have been raised, and maybe I'll just wish to respond to one or two just for a minute. I know time has really gone. Number one is on the issue of the curriculum vis-a-vis the industry, and I want to really submit that there is some disconnect. However, I want to say that many of the universities, even the public universities, of course, are reviewing their curricula to fit into the industry. And for us, like Moi University, we have a new curricula, and we of course have really partnered with the industry to ensure that we have a robust curriculum. But what I want to mention, especially touching on development, software development, at times we may have challenges in terms of ensuring that even the lecturers who are teaching these courses are appraised with the latest programming languages. Because, you know, there is some assumption that, for example, we bring in all the current languages, for example, the Python and the rest. It takes the responsibility of an individual lecturer, for example, to showcase some of these languages vis-a-vis what is in the curriculum. And as Denzel and someone else has said, curriculum gives us a framework in which you can be able to give some certain percent of what is available. Just like in somebody has mentioned about 25%. So when you talk about programming, for example, in C, it is really up to the student and maybe the lecturer to some extent to see how the latest programming languages can be brought on board as that language is being taught in class. What I mean is that we may not, you know, the review of the curriculum sometimes takes time, especially in public universities. Sometimes it takes 3-4 years. And by then, new languages are already on board. And therefore, it's individuals' effort to really look at the other 70%, which include now what's happening in the industry out there. I am not a programmer myself, but I deal with networking. And at times I have to really get my own devices, on my own, because sometimes you may not have enough devices in the university, but you sometimes have to go beyond and get those devices out which are available in the industry so that students can really get to know what is available out there. So there is a bit of disconnect, and that disconnect can only be breached by such forums that we have, like what you have right now. When we have such kind of forums, we can be able to bridge that gap between the academia and the industry. And I want to appreciate really what Denzel and the others are doing in boot camps. These are good platforms, but unfortunately, many students have no passion. You know, for especially like if we talk about IT, you must be passionate about IT. And you must identify the area of interest and pursue that interest, be it programming, be it networking, be it databases, be it operating systems, and so on. You must identify and be passionate about it. The challenge only comes in terms of many students not having enough facilitation in terms of the devices. I've been teaching a number of universities, and if memory serves me well, in my first lecture, I normally do a small research just to know how many students have smartphones, for example, which can help them to do some of this stuff. How many of the students have laptops? Then look at how many computers that we have in the lab vis-a-vis the number of students that we have in some of these universities, especially the public universities. And it will surprise you that you'll find that some of the IT students and computer students, some of them still have, you know, these phones which cannot help them to do any stuff, you know, not the cheap phones which cannot be used to access internet and some of the resources that they can be able to get. And that's why now it boils down to the same, what do they do beyond what they do in class? And as somebody has said, it's not like high school where you get to class from 5, you know what to do from 5 to 9 p.m. in the evening, you know, it's already structured. In university, you could be having 2 or 3 lectures in a day. The other hours were not just meant for students to idle around, but to do research and be able to research on the latest, you know, areas of their programs. If it's programming, look at what people are doing out there, how they can collaborate, how they can join some of the platforms, how they can even do some certifications and so on. So it boils to the students. So I want to really say, because of time, that it's upon the students that if they are passionate about what they are doing, there are so many opportunities out there. And some of us as lecturers, especially the young lecturers, we normally open opportunities to the students. We tell them these are things that you can do. Beyond what we are going to teach you in class, there are these things that you can be able to do and excel. Joining some of these online communities, doing these certifications, joining the boot camps, but you still find 1 or 2 students, like I think Denzel is only one. I think when I was doing research in his class, he was the only one who had already done a number of things as a way of contribution from the course that he is doing. So I want to really in class, the organizers of this session.
Thank you very much, Mulim. Yeah, I've always wanted to put that question to the academia perspective, and it's good that I've heard from your side. And yeah, I see Jack. I don't know whether time can allow us. Maureen, what do you think though? I don't know. Is Maureen still here though? So
yeah.
Oh, Jack is gone.
Yeah, he can proceed with asking or adding something. Yes, Jack.
Kindly.
Oh, okay. I'd just like to say one thing. I come from an IT family. We have engineers and scientists all over. And one thing I'd like maybe to put across is the academic side. I'm not an academic myself, but the academic side, in my opinion, I think it's well done. You know, in the thing about tech, the thing about programming tech as a whole, it doesn't require too much stimulation. You know, there's just too much change going on in the sector that if we have a reactionary system where the teaching staff keep changing the curriculum and the priorities, there'd be very little that could be standardized in the sector. You know, if you tell, for example, a gamer to work with Python, like most people are suggesting, they will develop some very terrible games. You know, majority of them work with C++ as an object-oriented, or if maybe you are looking at software engineers, you look at Canonical, the guys with Ubuntu and such operating systems, and they keep advertising. And if you've ever done an interview with some of these guys, they keep advertising over and over again, because a lot of people go to school, they get introduced into C, and then they just drop it, because they think the industry doesn't support it. But the potential for such languages are so massive. So they keep advertising because the candidates that enrolled, weren't doing the language they prefer. Similarly, you find some organizations like maybe the UN, which or even Strathmore, like setting up the interviews based on PHP and PHP-driven frameworks. But since the industry, reactionaries are diverting away from that, going into, like I've said, Python or JavaScript, many people who go to boot camps focus on those languages, and because they did not have a background in the object-oriented that is being taught in schools, they never, or some people just dropped the interest in such languages. They can't compete for languages that actually have a very high demand in the market, and which provide stability for engineers who choose to work in those sectors. And also, if maybe, for example, someone said previously that they did not see the utility of certain courseworks while they were in campus because they are not practicing it every day. If maybe you consider the fact that there are very few jobs and very many people competing, both who went to uni and colleges, and who went through boot camps competing for the same kinds of jobs. If you consider the very minimal opportunities that are available for a very large number of people, a lot of us have to make our own way, have to start our own companies, find our own clients, and just pursue our own space. So a lot of that information becomes massively useful. If you have ever founded a company, for example, you realize you do a lot. You may have some help. If you have investors, you may have some help. You may have accountants, you may have marketers, you may have sales representatives. But if you're not all-rounded, you'll not be able to do a lot unless you just want to sit back, throw applications all around, find maybe someone hiring you. If you do it that way, maybe it's useful to just focus on one thing. But my advice to anyone who is a student here, you really need to appreciate the well-rounded format that the uni is jotting out there, because that's very useful. Do not underestimate that even for a second. It's very useful to be well-rounded. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you very much, Jack. I don't know if there's still another comment or another suggestion, But for me, my takeaway, which is very important, and I was taught this by my mentor, is that it does not matter really the programming language. What matters is understanding the skill, and the skill is what really matters. It does not matter the language. So the language you can easily adapt, and you can, once I know how, I can personally, I think I can write at the moment. I can write 4 languages, and I can switch. If you give me JavaScript, I've never written JavaScript, but if you give me JavaScript, I tell you, okay, give me something like 2 weeks, and I'll understand that, because I understand it cut across. Function is a function, a class is a class. It does not matter. As in, if you look at the OOP concept, the inheritance, those things cut across every language. It doesn't matter. If you understand it, understand the concept, the language comes automatically. So, and I think that's what universities are usually insisting on. They teach you the concept, and after you understand the concept very clearly, you can move across languages very easily. So, but when you're starting, you need to start with a single language, understand the basics, understand the structure, and then you move forward. Yeah, and with that, that's my comment in that. I mean, that is a summary of that. And I think there being no any other comment, I think I'll give Maureen opportunity to say a vote of thanks. Personally, I'm Okoth. I'm a software developer in Kisumu. I majorly write a language, a relatively new language called Elixir. And sometimes I do write Ruby. Yeah. And also I've been into Flutter from 2018. Maureen can make a joke about that. And yeah. So that's me in a nutshell.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone, for your contribution. This is really, really valuable. And when you guys were making the comments and suggestions and contributions, I was kind of thinking at back when I was a student, and it was quite hard, like getting opportunities to see where we have like these online events, like thanks to these online platforms and stuff. It was quite hard to get your focus as a student, because we really only depended on the content that the teachers were giving us in school, and I didn't have passion for coding at all. I actually liked missing my classes. I only went mostly during exams, which was a bad practice. And that kind of changed in my final year, where now I had to do a project. That's when I now started going to classes. But with this, I highly appreciate that we need to do like extra beyond what the lecturers teach us in school, especially with the Kenyan curriculum, where we are mostly taught how to code on papers. It's really easy to lose concentration and focus based on that. And as someone who schooled in a school, like I did my university undergraduate studies at Kisii University, I really felt like we didn't have so much opportunities in regards to events, communities. We only realized that later or towards the end of my studies. But right now, comparing the fact that I'm currently based in Europe, working with people who started coding by 11 years, like it's quite different. Like they are super, super smart. So as students, it doesn't really matter where you are or where you studied, because you can make it. And the fact that even if you work with Europeans or people who started to learn about computers at the age of 11 or at 10, it's not like the end of the world. Like it's always ask questions and things like that. So I highly appreciate your presence today, and thanks, Denzel, for giving your take on consistency and the GREAT initiative, which is still a major problem even with us. Some of us who have already been into it, it's sometimes easy to lose focus. So thank you so much, Denzel. If you have any final words, maybe you can do so in like a minute, because we are way overboard with time. But as Flutter Kisumu organizers, we are really happy and we appreciate all your students. And Dr. Nicholas Kibet, thanks for coming, and same to all the others. We highly appreciate.
Yeah, thank you. So just a closing remark. Thank you all for making it here. Also, I'd like to appreciate my lecturer, Dr. Kiget. Thank you so much, sir, for making it. It's really a great honor to have you here. And I know you're a busy man, so having you here is not something to take lightly. I'd like to encourage all of us also to just like what we were talking about, to just keep at it, keep on chasing, keep on doing what you do consistently, and eventually you will get there. So thank you all for making it here. I shared my profiles. Maybe you could reach out and we could connect. Thank you.
All right, cool. So thank you so much, everyone, for like giving your time, your Saturday time. You could be doing something else today, especially now. But thanks so much. So we'll share a recording of this. We usually post on YouTube, and we're really looking forward to our final event of the year, which is probably going to be in December. So we'll let you know if we have something in regards to Flutter mostly. So thank you so much and have a great evening.
Bye for now.